Hello, fellow classmates. I would like to share with you a presentation I have created pertaining to augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality uses in curriculum development. My name is Brandon Ballantyne, and this is for the class TL 715. I would like to start with the definition of the three terms in the title of this presentation, beginning with augmented reality. Augmented reality is an enhanced version of reality created by the use of technology to overlay digital information on an image of something being viewed through a device, such as a smartphone camera. VR stands for virtual reality. That is an artificial environment which is experienced through sensory stimuli, such as sights and sounds, provided by a computer and in which one's actions partially determine what happens in the environment. MR stands for mixed reality. That is the merging of real and virtual worlds to produce new environments and visualizations, where physical and digital objects coexist and interact in real time. Mixed reality does not exclusively take place in either the physical or virtual world, but is a hybrid of reality and virtual reality, encompassing both augmented reality and augmented virtuality via immersive technology. Following here are some examples of these three types of technological advances that I feel would be necessary to incorporate into curriculum development. An example of augmented reality, which you are all probably aware of and have even taken part in when it was popular, would be the game Pokemon Go on the iPhone operating system. Augmented reality utilizes an apparatus such as a cell phone, just like Pokemon Go did, to impose virtual images on or in the real world. For those of you that are familiar with that game, the way it worked is you would open the app on your phone, it would activate your camera, it would tell you where to go to find certain Pokemon. Once you arrived, you would look at your phone and you would be viewing everything behind your phone through your camera, and the app would impose a picture, or an animation rather, of a Pokemon that you could catch. Now, Pokemon Go is not the only incarnation of augmented reality. Obviously, it is just the one that I feel you would be most familiar with. The second of these three things, virtual reality, is also something I feel that most of you have probably at least heard of, if not actually tried in the past. There is a photo there on the slide of a woman wearing a virtual reality headset. That is probably the most well-known or commonplace way to use virtual reality. Those headsets are used to block out everything outside of the virtual environment that is being generated by the software. It's done so that it can concentrate the user's attention on just the virtual environment. And an example of this would be using the headset to explore a completely virtual world that is created by the software. When wearing a virtual reality headset, you don't necessarily move or go anywhere, but you are able to turn your head and look around. It is picked up by the virtual reality headset, and inside the virtual environment, your view pans left and right as you turn your head, or up and down, whatever. You will also notice that she is wearing gloves there. Some virtual reality systems are a lot for other ways to manipulate the image you see inside the goggles. There are sensors in those gloves that are picked up and read by the virtual reality headset, or a shared sensor. You can see that inside the virtual environment as well. The third subject of this presentation would be mixed reality. This is probably the least well-known of the three, or at least it was to me. An example of mixed reality, and it's not pictured here, it's on the next slide. The medical field uses mixed reality simulations to train doctors and other medical professionals. It's done with goggles that are not as substantial as what you would wear for virtual reality. They're more akin to glasses, I feel. It's done with those and a life-size training dummy in the example of doctors or medical professionals whose internal organs are synced with images that are superimposed on the headset. The picture on this slide, however, would be a picture of some architects that are using mixed reality to view a superimposed set of buildings there on a city block on their countertop. They can use their, it looks like a stylus in this picture, to manipulate those pictures and adjust the buildings or move them as they need to. Again, to kind of cover some more examples, I already talked about Pokemon Go. There are other iOS games that utilize the camera on your phone. There are also games that utilize cameras that mount on gaming devices such and your TV, such as PlayStations and Xboxes. Other uses for this technology would be modeling. There's another picture there of several architects that are using what looks to be mixed reality to view and manipulate buildings on a tabletop. I don't want to give you the impression that it's just people that build things that use this technology. Again, I already stated doctors do that. Also, artists can view and manipulate 3D renderings of their pieces or sculptures before they actually begin to make them. Also down there on the bottom of the screen is the picture I told you about when we discussed the last slide. That is a picture of a doctor and some medical interns. They're all wearing goggles, if you'll notice, and he is using specialized tools that are synced with the software that is superimposing images on their glasses. So what's happening here is they are viewing the superimposed images, manipulating them with actual hardware they can touch. So it is a mixture of real-world items, things that are actually physically there in reality, as well as the images that are displayed on their glasses. Now, obviously, this is very handy in a lot of professions. Specifically in this instance, it's a lot safer for doctors to perform certain procedures on these mixed reality simulations rather than actual patients. I would posit that it's even more safe for the interns to do it, given that they are probably nowhere near as skilled as the doctors. Now, everything I've discussed up to this point has been an example or after example of how these things are used in areas other than education. This is relevant because in this day and age, technology is advancing at almost a breakneck pace. And it's as important as ever that we as educators stay up on these advances, because our kids, our students, are almost certainly going to be up to speed on all this, and it's vital that we find ways to stay relevant. Now, that being said, here are some uses that I discovered in my research for applications of these three platforms. We'll start with virtual reality. Students can use virtual reality to visit people or places that may be a world away. This can be useful in classes such as geography, to visit destinations, or in biology to observe habitats. Now, in geography, if you are studying a certain ancient civilization, there are ways using virtual reality that you can view a panoramic picture and move it and manipulate it of ruins of these ancient civilizations. I've done it, and it is amazing. In biology, it's the same practice. If you are studying ecosystems, there are 360-degree cameras that are set up in places like the rainforest where you can see live views. And using virtual reality, you can manipulate the camera to turn, pan, go up or down in any direction and view those habitats. It's really amazing. For augmented reality, Students can utilize this technology to observe impractical items or organisms in a real-world setting and compare their size, shape, or appearance through the camera on their device. Now, this seems much more novel than the virtual reality application. Some examples of this I found would be viewing animals, superimposed animals obviously, through a camera in a computer or a cell phone that makes the appearance that the animals are on your tabletop, depending on their size, or standing beside you. This is somewhat useful in my opinion in that it can help you understand the sheer size of the animals. It's not just with animals though. I mean, there are a lot of other items that you would never be able to get personally that you can do this with using this technology. The last subject that I covered on this in terms of applying for developing curriculum was mixed reality. This is especially useful to students in a science class setting, using real models of anything from the human skeleton to storm clouds. I observed instances of both of those things being used. Students can use mixed reality software to manipulate these virtual overlays of these items, and it's very cool to see. I hope to be able to do this firsthand one day if my district obtains any kind of funding to incorporate this technology into our classroom, because if you are able to look at a model of a cloud, a physical model of a cloud, and then put on mixed reality glasses and actually observe ground to cloud lightning and the way that clouds are formed and the way they change depending on weather patterns, it's very mind-blowing and it's very educational, and in my opinion all of this can be used to help develop curriculum. Last slide on my presentation, these are the references that I used. I used an article from CSU. I also read one by Milgram and Kashino. It's basically that was used to gather the definitions of these terms. Also, my third reference was a series of applications for the technology into the classroom. And then down there at the bottom, I used Merriam-Webster to clean up some of the definitions of these technologies.